We have a staff presentation on the discussion and consideration of a contract amendment with Flintco LLC, construction manager for Phase 1 of the City Center Complex to include a guaranteed maximum price for demolition of existing structures, general conditions, project requirements, insurance and performance bond, and owner's contingency, and resolution number
24-23.
24-23, appointing purchasing agent for $992,588.
This is an exciting evening. So a project that has been years in the making, as I'll get to in the project background, and that we've been working intently on for over the last year in design, is before you this evening for the beginning of the construction. And so I will walk through the documents that have been provided in the packet that was provided to you, in the information that was published online, but just thought maybe just a few slides go into a little more detail about what's in the packet, and happy to answer any questions as we move along. So the item is item 5B2, which, as Mayor said, I'm not going to read all those words, but the contract amendment with Flintco, which is the construction manager for Phase 1 of the City Center Complex. And all the items that fall underneath that Phase 1. And so what I'm going to do is walk through each of those items on the preceding slides. But the grand total of that is just a little under $7 million. And as I'm going to allude to several times, the project budget for this city center complex is $44 million. And all of these costs were anticipated and fall underneath the $44 million. So just a little bit of project background. So on April 5th of 2016, the voters of Edmond approved an extension and repurposing of a sales tax that built a public safety center. There was a number of projects that were listed that was going to be funded through this sales tax extension, which is a 10-year tax, a half-cent tax. Two of those identified projects were a downtown parking garage and consolidated city offices. And then moving forward, in June of 2022, Council approved a design contract with Reese. And then a few months after that, in December of 2022, Council approved a construction manager at risk contract with Flintco. And then after that, in March 2023, the Council took the action to approve a $44 million loan to construct the City Center Complex. And as a reminder of when I say City Center Complex, what that is 3 buildings that will be constructed on the southwest and southeast corner of Main and Littler. So again, after a year of programming with Reese and also with Flintco, the construction manager at risk, the City Hall is going to be 2 stories. 59,000 square feet, have a council chambers that's 3 times the one that we're in, 3 times more seating than the one we have tonight, as well as city staff offices to accommodate the growth within the city and public meeting space as well. The second building to be funded through this $44 million is Municipal Court, which is 1 story, 15,000 square feet, and will build a courtroom that has 3 times more seating than we currently have, and as well as more city staff offices to accommodate the growth. And then the final piece of the puzzle of the buildings that will be constructed is a parking garage that is 3 stories, 216 spaces that will have parking for city staff, and then the people who are coming to do business with City Hall and Court, as well as the general public, so area parking. And then here's the latest renderings of the project. So on the left, the street right in front here is Main Street, and this is what the municipal court will look like. And then as you move just a little further to the west is the 3-story parking garage. And then as you move further to the west, down Main Street, this is the 2-story City Hall complex. Just wanted to provide the latest renderings that we have with the project. Again, just a little bit of the background sort of at a higher level about what these items are. A little under $7 million that were anticipated and fall underneath the project budget. Construction of this project will occur in 4 primary phases. And the first is before you this evening, which will be the demolition of the downtown community center, as well as the planning and public works building, which is the building just to our north here. And that's the agenda item. In future phases, the next phase that will come before the council that will be publicly bid under Title 61 will be the site preparation. that will occur on both of the footprints. And then phase 3 will be the vertical construction. First, you got to get the utilities, then the mechanical, electrical, the plumbing, and then we go vertical with the structural. And then the fourth phase of building the buildings will be the envelope and the finishes. And again, each phase will be bid separate, brought for council approval with a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed with each of the phases. So all this will fall underneath the $44 million, and each will come as a phased an amendment to the original contract with Flintco that was signed in December 2022. So a little more detail about the item on the agenda tonight. Again, it's the first guaranteed maximum price contract amendment. Just put it up there again to highlight it, a little under $7 million that was anticipated. The breakdown of that. So for the actual construction that will occur with this phase 1 will be the demo of the downtown community center and the planning and public works building. So that was publicly bid through the city with Flintco as the construction manager. We had budgeted $500,000, and I'm happy to report the first phase of construction will be to demo those buildings and make the utilities safe is $189,000. So we're off to a great start as far as construction of these 3 buildings. Also included within the $6.99 million is the construction manager fee for this portion of the project, which is $352,000. So as was agreed to in the original contract with Flintco that was approved in December of 2022, 3.95% of the total project budget will go to Flintco for overseeing the construction. So this is just a proportionate share of that 3.95% of the overall $44 million. That is not above the 44, it's inside the 44 for the project budget. And then just a little under $3.5 million for what's called general conditions and project requirements. So think of this as the construction manager or Flintco's overhead for the entirety of the project. And what that means is the personnel assigned to the project, the field office, the permits that they have to pull, the fencing, the site safety, cleanup, everything that goes, and it's a normal part of constructing a project that is this size and scope. So what this will look like for the general conditions is, if council approves this evening, the full $3.47 million will be encumbered, and then monthly Flintco will send us an invoice that says, here's the amount of time that was spent on the site this month, here's who did what, here's the rental cost for the trailer, all of those things like that. So then we will look at that, we will vet that invoice, and then if we receive approval tonight, we will pay the monthly amount that comes. Again, this is for the entirety of the project. And then $1.7 million is for insurance and performance bonds. That's required of every construction project. So again, they're taking the risk, so they're carrying the insurance, and that is again for the entirety of the project. Much like general conditions and project requirements, it will that's for the entirety of the project. And then $1.27 million is for the contractor contingency. There was a minor error in the I apologize in the agenda heading. It said owner's contingency. It's actually contractor contingency. I just want to make sure that's out there. So this is the recommended amount to cover any unexpected costs that may occur, again, inside the $44 million. But as we know, with a project that's this size and scope, relying on Flintco's expertise and their years of experience in the field, there will be things that come along that were unexpected. But it's important to point out that while we may be encumbering this money now, none of this money will be spent without the owner's approval, without the city's approval. So if there is something that comes up and the decision is made by the city to go ahead and fund whatever that change may be, then we will have that conversation, and then there will be agreement to move forward with that. But we're seeking full encumbrance of that money this evening. Project timeline. So tomorrow, assuming approval tonight, July 25th, construction fencing goes up. And then the roads are going to be closed, and I'll have a slide on that and talk about the communication that's occurred so far and the communication that will continue to occur throughout the project. August 7th, the week of August 7th, is when we anticipate the actual demolition of the 2 buildings to occur. And then from September of this year through December, The remaining 3 bid packages, which I alluded to earlier, will come for city council approval. They will all be bid separate. And then Flintco, as the construction manager, will vet those bids, provide a recommendation to city staff, and then city staff will look at that and then bring that forward for council approval. And each time it will be a contract amendment with a guaranteed maximum price for each of the different bid packages that are in there. And again, all falling with underneath the 44. And then April 2025, ta-da, project completion. It's just that simple. And I've got 2 representatives from Flintco here behind me that can confirm it's just that simple.
Guaranteed final date?
Oh, April 2025, project completion. I don't know what happens between December 2023 and April 2025.
Matter,
That's
right?
for them to figure out.
Yeah.
But they're really good at what they do. That's why they were selected. So away we go. I did want to talk a little bit about for the safety of the downtown area, the construction fencing that will be in place for the duration of the project, as well as the roads that will be closed. So just to orientate everybody where we're at. So this evening we are sitting right here in the city council chambers. The buildings that will be constructed is where the new 2-story city hall will be. Here is where this footprint where the parking garage will be, and then just right next to that is where municipal court will be. So throughout the entirety of the project, Littler from First to Main will be closed, and then this small section of Main Street right here will also be closed. There will be signage, as you can see everywhere. Construction fencing will go up, follow the red line there. So last week, several city staff produced a short little a picture, and then an explanation of what the picture says, and walked around to many of the businesses in downtown, talked about the project, left them with a contact, which is Bill Begley, our public information officer, had good chats about their thoughts about the project and concerns they may have about things of that nature. So again, we will continue to message throughout the project as things get moving. Yes, sir.
Could you repeat that on the road closures, please?
What's that, sir?
Could you repeat your comments on the road closures?
So the roads that will be closed for the duration of the project will be Littler Avenue from First up to Main. So you can see right here. And again, this is for staging of the project, and this is for the safety of those in the area. And then this small section of Main Street right here, that it will be directly north of the project site. So we also, on Friday, Flintco visited with the principal at Russell Doherty Elementary and talked about sort of the areas that will be left open for the duration of the project and potential ways that parents can make sure they had an efficient and safe pickup. So we do know that there will be inconveniences while this occurs, but again, for the safety of the area, we feel like it's important. And for the sort of making sure we are sufficiently getting the project completed in a timely manner. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, or if there's something more technical in nature, our partners from Flintco can also answer your questions as well.
Any questions from council?
I'd say I appreciate I have a copy of that. So one of the constituents gave it and marked it up and asked me questions.
Absolutely.
Going door to door. I know our mayor and I have discussed, and we think it's critical for all residents to be updated as transparently and as timely as possible for this project. And so ask for a public meeting at some point with our downtown residents or constituents. So something that we'll be working towards and that we would request. But yeah, just wanted to let our Ward 1 residents know in particular that'll be impacted downtown, that we'll look to have an update of activity from the team at Flintco and our city staff to be able to sit down and ask more questions.
Absolutely.
Well, the goal is to over-communicate for the entire community what's going on downtown so that everyone can, to the best of our ability, will understand what's going on.
Yeah. And Mayor, I do want to highlight, and I'll ask our city engineer maybe just to say a comment real quickly, and I'll allow him to turn his mic on as I say words, not to put him on the spot. But As many people that live or work or frequent downtown know, we have been undertaking for a number of months a downtown waterline project. That project has come with its challenges as construction projects do in an urban environment once you start getting below the surface. But I know Mr. Lawrence here can give a brief update on how close we are to completion of that.
Very good.
We're getting much closer.
Thank you.
At the end.
So the contractors had some struggles with
new pipe leaking and that type of thing. But it's very old infrastructure. There's a lot of buried things in downtown Edmond and the alleys. They're very crowded. They've had to hand dig their whole way. But basically, we're down to about one block of alley that is on the east side of Broadway, north of Hurd, up to Campbell, that they're working on right now. And as quickly as possible. Last week we had them come in and do Main Street and get it back in service at this location right in here, so that when we close Main Street further east, it'll still have access throughout this area here. This week they're working on the Hurd crossing right up here. They are going to pour concrete tomorrow morning and have it open Friday. All of the other paving replacements that they have to do on the west side of Broadway, they're working on, and those should be done in the next 2 weeks. The only portion that will take a little bit longer than that is the portion they're working on north of Hurd Street in the alleyway, and that'll take another 5 to 6 weeks to complete that. So basically everything but that one alleyway should be wrapped up in the next 2 to 3 weeks, weather permitting. That's been kind of their holdup with paving, is the rain. So
Very good.
We appreciate all the patience of the downtown stakeholders.
And you said it several times, but I just wanted to emphasize again, these street closures are during the construction project for this process.
Correct.
They're not permanent closures of any streets.
Correct.
If that were ever contemplated, that would be a separate discussion item. So I know there's been some misinformation out there about that. So I just want to make sure these are just during the construction process.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
This is a discussion. Well, any other questions from the council? On this item number, excuse me, sir. I will get to you. I will get to public comment in just a second. Is there any questions from council? Yes. This is a discussion and consideration item. Is there any comments, questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Please come down and introduce yourself.
Leonard Scott. God, deja vu all over again. We came here some months ago, and you showed the building of the city center, and the elders had some questions about it. And you said, "Oh, this is just a rendering, and this looks like this is a done deal." The elders are wondering, can we see a picture of that center again? Because it didn't make sense to us. It looked like it did before when we asked the questions, and I don't see a change to it. Can we see a picture of the front of the city center? Please? Somebody got some pictures of it?
I don't.
Okay. Right there, the city center is off to the side, I guess. You notice where's the parking along the road? Is there any parking along that road? Come on, guys. You guys from the builder, are there any parking along that road in front of that place? Okay. There's no place to turn in for elders to be let out either. See, that was the whole point. Elders can get up there and park close to it. They can get out and go to it. Well, if there's no parking and there's no roll around there, a pull in, where do we get out and get to that place? I'm asking the question.
There is in the drawings, there is a part for people to be let out, sir.
But, sir, we need to see that if you're going into this, we want to be concerned. We're concerned. Where do we go? Now, you said a parking garage. How many of those parking garage spaces are for employees? Anybody tell me that? How many spaces are involved in the parking for the employees? And there's how many spaces? And somebody tell me that. Well, then if you don't know how many are going to be there for us to park in and have to walk 200 yards to that place? That's our concern. If there's no parking places for us and we can't have a rollout, where do we go? We're asking the question. And I don't see anything up here that says anything different. It's the same old thing. We've got no access to this place. So I'm asking, why are we doing this? Why are we spending this and saying, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to shut it down next week or whatever? And we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the finished product. And you told us that it was going to be, this is just a rendering. Well, let's see the new rendering before we get into this. Because we certainly haven't approved it. The elders haven't. And the older people and the young mothers with kids, with rollers, they have to park and roll up to this place. How do we get there? Has anybody got any answers? Come on, where's the constructors for this thing?
I think he's trying to let you finish and then there'll be some response.
Okay. All right.
So
what about the 4th of July? Yeah, Main Street. Is that going to be closed off for 4th of July? It's right on Main. So how are we going to reroute around Main for that thing too, by the way? I'm asking because people are asking me about it. Has that been considered?
Yes, sir, it has been.
They have. I didn't hear it, so I'm just asking the question.
And I just told you. Yes,
I didn't hear
it
it, sir.
Yes, it has been considered. So the people who are doing Liberty Fest will take that into account in their routing.
Okay. So is somebody going to show us another rendering with the parking and how it's going to set up? Because right now you're showing me something. It's no different from last time, and you guaranteed me this was not the final product, and that's the final product, looks like to me. For elders' sake. No answer? Okay. Thank you.
Mayor and council, after receiving some public feedback previously, the new apologies, I do not have the rendering that shows it exactly where it'll be on the site, but there will be a long Littler here. Again, when the project opens, April 2025, there will be, we worked with the designer, Reese, and said, can we please have a drop-off area right here? So there will be a drop-off area that is on the west side of Littler. So you will not be able to park there, but there will be a drop-off area there. To answer the question, day one, when the city center complex opens, there will be 115 employees that will occupy the city hall and will occupy municipal court.
And there's 216 parking, which leaves over 100 spots.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And just because there's 150 or whatever the number is, does that mean that each individual is driving a vehicle?
No.
There's
100 plus extra parking spots
Correct.
in the garage.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
And you have a rendering of the drop-off?
I do have a rendering of the drop-off, yeah. I don't have it with me this evening. I didn't anticipate the question.
Email that to the good colonel so we don't have this conversation again.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.